Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, where we bring you a weekly dose of powerlifting news, tips, and training advice with a touch of 80s rock ballads. This podcast is presented by Team Rohr Powerlifting, your source of the most comprehensive coaching and meet day preparation. Here are your hosts, Josh Rohr and Lara Sturm.
All right. Welcome to episode 55 of Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast. I am one of your hosts, Lara Sturm.
And I'm Josh Rohr. Welcome to the episode. We are joined today by Christina Myers. She is a USA Powerlifting Meet Director, national level competitor, gymnastics coach for 10 years, and former competitive gymnast for 15 years. She's a powerlifting coach. She's got a bachelor's degree in sports medicine and nutrition and a master's degree in strength and conditioning. And she is a CSCS and a few other relevant certifications. So welcome to the podcast, Christina.
Thanks for having me.
So we are going to use your high level of expertise to give us some input on some top 5 80s songs real quick.
All right. So we are in week 3. So we're talking about our number 3 song for all of our people that have given us songs. So my first song is listed by me. Autograph is the band, and Turn Up the Radio.
So since there's 3 of us, we're going to give it a white light or a red light, and majority wins. So Autograph, Turn Up the Radio, thumbs up or down from our panel. Lara, you still got to vote on your own song.
Oh, I get to vote on my own? Well, of course it's white light.
All right, so 3 white lights.
Woohoo! All right, our next song is from Josh Rohr, and it is Red Rider Lunatic Fringe. Obviously, white lights.
All right, 3 white lights.
Awesome. Chris Elmore had that song, by the way, at number 5. Chris Elmore's song is the next one, and the song is from Soft Cell, Tainted Love. I'd have to give that one a white light.
Oh, so that's a 2 to 1. I gave it a red light, so that's 2 to 1. Good song.
2 to 1. All right. Next one is Gary Jacobs from the Lifting Lutheran. His band is The Outfield, and the song is Your Love. I love the song, but I'm going to have to give it a red light because The Outfield is not a one-hit wonder band.
Oh, so you're giving it a thumbs down, Lara?
Thumbs down.
All right, so that's 3 red lights. Ooh, our first no song.
Oh. All right, the next one is from Chris Peterson, and it's The Buggles' Video Killed the Radio Star. I'm going to give that a white light just because of the history behind that song.
Yep, same. So Christina gave it a thumbs up. 3 white lights.
Boom. All right, the next one's from Wade Johnson, and the band is Steel Breeze, You Don't Want Me Anymore. White light.
Red light from me. 2 to 1, good lift. Christina gave it a good lift. A good song, sorry.
All of the above.
I feel like we should have lights. Work on that, Josh. We need this visual. Next one is from Cindi Jaeger, and it's Tommy Teuton 8675309. And Josh, you typoed that. It's not 5909.
Whatever. You know what I'm saying.
White light.
All right, that's a 2 to 1. Christina gave it a thumbs down.
Ooh. The next one is from Ben Green. The group is Cutting Crew, and it's Died in Your Arms. White light.
Yep, 3 white lights.
Great song. The next one is from Eric Corderio, and the song is Devo. I'm sorry, that's the band, Devo. And what is the song? Of course, it's Whip It. Whip It Good. White light.
I'm gonna give it a red. So 2 to 1, good song.
Didn't you give it a white light last week?
At number 5, I think I did, or maybe at number 4, but at number 3, I can't do it.
Oh, the placing matters. Huh. Interesting. Okay. The next one is also it's from Jim Battenfield and is also Tommy Teuton 8675309. White light.
All right, 2 to 1. Christina gave it a red again.
Hey,
my opinion didn't change.
Good, because that would be weird. Like if it did, it'd be like, well, when it's from Jim, it's white light.
Playing favorites.
All right. Yeah. Next one is Stacie Metcalfe's And the band is Harold Faltermeyer. Axel F is the name of the song. And I'm going to have to give it a red light.
Oh, I gave it a thumb. I gave it a white. So it's 2-1. No song. Christina
Ooh.
also gave it a red light.
And the next one is from Amy Pancake, Wang Chung, Dance Hall Days. Don't they have another hit, Wang Chung? Everybody Wang Chung tonight? That's a different song, right?
I don't know if it's them though. Maybe
Sorry,
it is.
Amy.
Well, I'm gonna give it a white light. So, well, yeah, I don't know for a fact that they have another hit. So it's one of those things as a referee, you can't red light it unless you're certain it's an infraction. And I don't know for sure that it's so maybe the jury will overturn it later, but for now we're going to call it a 2-1 good. And then
We're gonna have to look at the jury.
The jury can come back and overturn our call later.
I'll go with that. All right. So of all the songs, I think I get to go first this time.
You do?
Whether it's a lifting song or a driving song. I'm going to go with a driving song, and Cutting Crew, Died in Your Arms. Great song for driving to.
All right. Wait, what song did you pick?
Died in Your Arms by the
Died
Cutting
in
Crew.
Your Arms. Cool. I'm going to go curveball. For my lifting song, I'm going to go Axel F.
That is a curveball.
So that F is Josh, and I'm making my notes here. All right. So moving on, that wraps up our number 3 song. So what I want to move on to now, and we wanted to bring Christina on here to get her input too, is there's a lot of stuff going around the internet about Simone Biles right now, about her not competing in some of the events. And I obviously have my opinions, and it's very clear people on the internet have their opinions. But I wanted to kind of get input from you, Christina, as a competitive gymnast for 15 years and a coach. First of all, let's start with this. She said she had the twisties. That sounds made up to me. What is it?
It's definitely not made up. It's something that I experienced back when I did gymnastics several times, actually. The twisties are actually what ended my gymnastics career. So they are near and dear to my heart. And as soon as she came out and said what she was dealing with, being the twisties, there were gymnasts everywhere, all over Twitter and social media that went, I have dealt with that. Like everybody knows exactly what it is if they've been in gymnastics. And so in other sports, they call it the yips. Like in baseball and golf, I think they refer to it that way. And it truly is like you have no control over what your body is doing and no idea where you are in the air, which is really scary when you're a gymnast. I actually described it to someone the other day as if you had vertigo and you were trying to fly a plane in a storm, like you just have no way of knowing what's up from down anymore. So you can imagine if you're trying to do gymnastics, and especially if you're Simone Biles, who's competing the hardest gymnastic skills in the world, that could be extremely dangerous. So, yeah.
And I've been kind of seeing some of those other posts, from people too, saying that, they've experienced it and it's a real thing. But I'm speaking for myself as somebody that knows nothing about gymnastics. Like that's a term I've never heard before. And to the person that doesn't know, I kind of equate it to like people that are all over the bench press Facebook groups and stuff saying, hey, you shouldn't be arching. It's going to hurt your back. They clearly don't know what the hell they're talking about. So I think the same people saying, twisty sounds made up. And, I said that myself at first because it does. It sounds made up if you don't know. But, it's good to know like that is a real thing, and people just need to, I guess, before they start making their assumptions and stuff, do some research. Or I'll just have you on a podcast and you can inform us instead of actually doing research. So I guess let's get to the point here. A lot of people are saying she let her team down. A lot of people saying she quit. Then there's, a lot of people saying like she did the right thing, like, you know, mental health is a real thing, like she needs to take care of herself. And then that's not even taking into account, I don't think, that the twisties that you say is a real thing. So I guess what are your overall thoughts on, you know, I guess what side of the fence do you fall on there?
So I definitely fall on the side that she did the right thing for multiple reasons. And I think if most people had the context of what the actual rules are for team finals at the Olympics, they would understand that she helped her team by doing what she did, and she didn't hurt them at all. If anything, she gave them a better chance when she took herself out of the competition. So what we know now that she's opened up about it a little bit is that she wasn't having any of these issues before they left the US. And she wasn't having them before the prelim round. So for the qualification round, all 4 of the same team members went in. They qualified the US through to team finals in 2nd place. And Simone herself qualified to all of the individual event and all around finals. After prelims, you can't make any substitutions. So whoever competes in that qualification round is who competes in team finals. So there's a lot of people that are like, she should have withdrawn sooner and given an alternate a chance. But like by the time it started, it was too late for her to change places with anybody. So they're stuck with those 4 people. She was warming up okay in the back gym, they said. So they have kind of a back gym, and then they come out and they come to the podium that you actually see on camera, kind of like you warm up at nationals in the back room, and then you come out and compete on a different platform. So it wasn't happening too much in the back gym. She said as soon as she walked back out there to that main gym, she just kind of lost it, and she couldn't get it back. And if you got to see her vault warm-ups, they did show them on NBC primetime, you could tell she didn't get a single vault right in warm-ups. And that's a vault that she's been competing for almost 10 years, and she's never missed. Never once has she missed that vault, and she couldn't even get it in warm-up. So not only was the way she was getting lost and bailing out of it pretty dangerous, and she could have easily gotten hurt, but what she did also downgraded the value of the skill, so it wasn't worth as much. So she scored the lowest on vault for the team. She should have been the highest score. And the way the scoring works, it's a 3-up, 3-count situation. So there's 4 members of the team, 3 of them go on each event, and all 3 scores count no matter what happens. So her messed up vault counted towards the team score. If she had gone to bars and done the same thing, or fallen, or gotten lost on her bar dismount, they had to count that score. Nobody gets to go in her place if she messes something up, or if she gets too injured in the middle of a routine to finish it and she scores a 3, then they get a 3. So a lot of people who think that she lost them the gold medal, she really did the best possible thing she could by getting out of the competition, keeping herself safe, and giving her team the best chance to win. And if you were watching, you saw she didn't leave the floor. She was no longer competing herself, but she was running errands, and she was cheering for them, and she was serving as an extra coach. So at no point do I think she actually quit on the team. I think she, in fact, did the best thing she could for them.
Yeah. And I will say this too, like I'm a big fan of Simone Biles, but I will also say this: I have not watched any of the Olympics so far, like any sport, which is almost embarrassing to say. And I kind of have a feeling like some of the internet people are also in the same boat. They're just like seeing whatever the headline is, Simone Biles quit. Well, oh, that's un-American, blah, blah, blah. And they start going off and they don't even know the situation. So yeah, I think there's a lot of valid reasons why she did what she did. And I think it's interesting, having your perspective on that too. Cause like, I didn't know, I don't know how the scoring works. I don't know anything. I'm just a general fan that doesn't really know anything about the sport. So there's been a couple, I guess, historical situations that kind of come to mind now that, one was Carrie Strug back at the 96 Olympics, where she was injured and basically told she had to make her jump. There's people making comparisons on that because do you want to walk us through that scenario and I guess how that played out? Or
I can, yeah. So first, I'll give you the version that that made her famous, which is at the 1996 Olympics. It came down to the last event, and it was between the Russians and the American women's gymnastics teams. And Carrie Strug was the last vaulter up, and she got hurt on her first vault. If I remember correctly, she actually fell on it. And then she was still walking at that point, even though you could tell she was injured, she was limping. And she gets back to Bella Caroli. And if you were watching her face, I mean, she looks terrified. Like, she's in tears. She's asking if she has to go again. And the way that they played it out when they gave you the broadcast version is that it looks like Bella is just encouraging him. Like, he just keeps saying, you can do it. And everyone sees that. And then she does her second vault, and she immediately hops onto one foot, and she sits down, and she's in tears, and you can just tell, like, she's really, really hurt. And they carry her off. And then there's the famous picture of them standing on the award stand, and she's the only one that doesn't have her warm-up pants on because she has the big bandage on her foot and all of that stuff. So the version that we kind of got sold when we were younger, because I was 7 years old when that happened, and she was my idol, of course, at the time, was that vault won the Olympics for the US team. What we found out later on was that she never had to do that vault. They already won before she went. So that second vault wasn't necessary to win gold for the US, but it also ended her Olympics early because she had qualified to event finals. It ended her career. She never came back from that ankle injury. And the person they carried her off of the mat to was Larry Nassar, who we now know was clearly not a person that she needed to be exposed to. And she was a teenager. She was 18 years old at the time. So, like, she should have had a long career ahead of her. And on top of the fact that that injury ended her career, we're really lucky it wasn't worse. She was fighting through a whole lot of pain just to run down the runway and do the entry to that vault. And she easily could have messed that up and hit the table head first or something like that. That would have been even more catastrophic. So what was sold to us is like a really inspiring story. Really wasn't quite as nice and as pretty as they painted it. And then they turned around and used that. So my whole generation of gymnastics, they used Carrie and her story as a reason that we should keep pushing through things and training on injuries and competing in things. And most of us were not at the Olympics. Like, we were at much lower level, what you would equate to like local meet kind of situations, and being pushed to do these things for much lower stakes, and all kind of in the name of Carrie and in the name of what Carrie had done. And really just kind of given this message that we weren't worthy of anything more than the accomplishments we could get out of our performances, no matter what the sacrifice had to be.
Yeah, and that's, you know, again, as somebody that's not really educated in the sport or even the history of the sport, like, yeah, I've heard the narrative too. Like, she won the Olympics, and it's super, like, we should celebrate her triumph and her pushing through and everything. And that's the narrative I've been told too, and I've heard everywhere. And
the reality is basically a lie that they sold over and over, and then put her back into literally the arms of a pedophile.
And really, the reality is she didn't have a choice whether or not she did her last vault. She wasn't given one. Bella said she had to do it. And even Carrie Strug has come out and said that she supports Simone Biles pulling out. So I think if she's behind her and she's the story that everyone was referring back to, that should be, you know, kind of the proof in the pudding that maybe Simone was doing the right thing there.
Well, and is it progress that she was allowed to pull out?
Yes, that is huge. Like, the fact that Simone had a choice and was able to speak up for herself, and her coaches listened to that and let her pull out that way, and you know, kind of took her word for what it was, is really huge progress for the sport. And you have to remember, Simone is not a person who just quits on things. In her career, competing for the US, she's led the US team, not just her individual stuff, but the team, to 5 different Olympic and World Championships. So obviously 2016 in Rio, and 4 other World Championship gold medals. Throughout the largest sexual abuse scandal we've ever seen in sports. She's competed on Broken Bones. She has made history winning a world championship by the largest margin of victory they had seen at the point, while she was passing kidney stones and in and out of a hospital in a foreign country. So to call that same athlete a quitter, when the one time she felt like she couldn't get through what she was facing, she said something, is just crazy to me, because she's already gotten through so many things that no one else ever would have. And she's 24. Like, she's not even that old yet. So
Right.
I just
She's
think
the
that's,
goat.
yeah, she's done so much and she's pushed through so much already, that the idea that Simone Biles is weak-minded and couldn't handle the pressure of an Olympics is just like, you don't know anything about her, clearly.
Yeah, stuff like that frustrates me, like, because I'd say the percentage of people that have ever competed at a high level that are making those comments is very low. There are a few, like I have seen a few, but nobody that I know that has competed in gymnastics. I guess, so here's, I was thinking about this. I was trying to think of what would be a powerlifting equivalent of the twisties. There isn't one, but the only thing I could think of, like for comparison's sake, is some days at the gym or even in a meet, you just have no reference of where your depth is. You're not going to potentially kill yourself by being an inch high. You just don't know where you're at. So it's completely two different things. Not knowing where your depth is versus like not knowing if you're going to land on your neck, So I don't know. And unfortunately, I've seen a lot of powerlifters making the comments like she quit, like she should have pushed through. And I just don't, like I said, I don't know enough about gymnastics to say that. But even if I did, and even if I just don't think that's fair.
I have definitely seen those posts myself, and I am just kind of like shocked that people who compete in a sport like powerlifting, which obviously is a sport that I love, and that's why I'm so involved in it and competed in it myself and coach it. But the reality of powerlifting is the chance of injury is relatively low compared to most other sports. And the chance of getting injured in competition is probably even lower than that. I mean, you have spotters and you have all these other situations to keep you safe. And then even if you are going to get hurt, like you said, it's not life or death. It's usually not even career ending. Even those injuries are rare in powerlifting, where when in gymnastics, I mean, we're talking about a life and death situation or paralysis or career ending stuff. Like, you never come back from it, and you probably have lifelong issues and complications from whatever it may have been. And so I think they have to keep in mind that the stakes are very different, and that the Olympics and a state meet or a local meet or even a national championship are very different ball games.
Yeah. And I just, even in the powerlifting world, like if somebody's injured or I don't, and like we already said, that's not a life or death situation. Like, you still, like as a coach, I guess I look at it as a coach. Like, if I have a lifter that's hurt and they want to go out and pull their third deadlift or something like that, depending on what's hurt and how bad, like most likely I'm not going to let them do it. And that's not a life or death situation. So like to force somebody like Carrie back at 96, like I don't know. I guess I never really thought about it until this situation where it's come back up again. But, like you said earlier, like we were all taught to celebrate it. Now it's like, wait a minute, we probably, especially knowing now, especially the characters that were around her at the time that we know about now too. So I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of flipped my whole world upside down, I guess, in terms of what I thought was the situation.
Yeah, Carrie is not the only example of that, of somebody not being given a choice in gymnastics and it ultimately turning out really badly. And the story that the public got being something kind of glorified and very different than what really went on behind the scenes. I think that's something important to remember. And I think in Simone's case, she does have good coaches. She is in a positive situation. And I don't think that we're going to later find out that, something like that was going on this time around. But in 2016, that was a different story. And I'm sure her being back at the Olympics after going through everything she's been through with her journey to the first Olympics and Larry Nassar and the Carolis being abusive and all of that kind of stuff, I'm sure that just being back there probably brought a lot of that stuff back up for her. added to the pressure of actually competing in an Olympics and having the weight of an entire country put on her, because the high performance director for USA Women's Gymnastics, his entire strategy was, we have Simone, so we're going to win. So there was no strategy that kept her from being the only person or feeling like the only person who could help them win a gold medal. And I think that just added to the pressure, because in 2016, she wasn't the oldest person on the team. She had a veteran to look up to. She had Allie Raceman. Allie Raceman was also an incredibly strong all-arounder who pushed Simone to be better. And not that I don't think the other 3 girls on this team deserve to be there. I think they're all phenomenal, and they did an incredible job in winning a silver medal for the US. But how many people looked at that situation and said they only got silver, as if a silver medal at the Olympics is not something incredible to be celebrated.
Right.
They're like, she lost us the gold. And it's like, they won silver against like the best Russian team we've ever seen. That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of it too, like this, I'm going to go on a rant here, just bear with me. But I think part of that mentality comes from, I see in powerlifters, because you got people that go to different federations and go other places so that they can win a medal because there's less competition. So they just take it for granted that, oh, gold medals are easy. Well, it's the fucking Olympics. Like there's competition. I don't know. It's just, that's always rubbed me the wrong way to begin with, is people like expecting medals like that for basically just dodging competition. And the Olympics is not that. Like, it's the best of the best, like across the board. So yeah, I mean, hell, getting not last at the Olympics would be a fucking like huge deal.
Yes.
Like, I think that's just terrible that people think that. No, I'm not going to go any more on that, but
and I think what she did by pulling out was just so courageous to actually recognize that in herself and say, this isn't going to go well. And having all that pressure on her and then saying, well, no, I'm going to pull out. I mean, that had to take giant balls to do.
It really did, especially because she had to have known when she did it that she was going to get criticized the way she did. I don't know if she could have predicted exactly how terrible it was going to be. Like, I've seen people literally refer to her as a sociopath, a selfish sociopath who intentionally gave the medal to Russia, just like all kinds of just really horrible accusations. And I'm like, guys, it's gymnastics. Like, it's a sport. It's a game. It's called the Olympic Games for a reason.
Right.
And you guys are like trying to put all this political stuff on her, or say she did it on purpose, or that she had any bad intentions at all, when all she was really trying to do was, 1, make sure she was safe, and 2, do the best thing for her team in that situation. And in this case, it was for her not to be doing anything. It was for her to step back and take a different role. So,
right. And to acknowledge that, anything of it had to do with her mental health. I mean,
yes,
to be able to take that stand and say, my mental health is so important that I'm going to pull out. I mean, that I really hope that it I don't know, shifts things to make people think a little bit more about mental health and what goes into, being a high level athlete for any sport.
Yeah.
And mental health is a big deal.
The twisties are made worse by like anxiety and stress and pressure and that kind of thing. So there wasn't really anything she could do in that situation. It's not a thing that you can just push through and like force your way through. That actually makes it worse. So I mean, she really did the best thing for herself. And I think she set a really good example for a younger generation of gymnasts and for athletes in all sports, really, that it's okay to speak up for yourself when you need to and say, this time I can't push through it, because sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. And I think that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I saw something that she actually did on Instagram. She posted something on her story, like asking if anybody had questions about the twisties or something like that. And she was going through and like answering like all kinds of questions. And I thought that was really cool. Like, I also say this, I don't think she needed to do that. Like, that's not her job to do. But I think she, I don't know if she felt obligated to or not. I hope it wasn't out of obligation, but to me, I look at it like, what is okay, I look at it this way. What does Simone Biles owe Josh Rohr? Like as a general fan of that doesn't know anything about gymnastics, like does she owe me an explanation? Does she like no, she doesn't. So everybody can shut up.
Internet trolls.
Yeah.
They're just internet trolls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I just want to kind of get your perspective on that. I mean, you kind of said a lot of what I thought you would, but the background and information was really cool. Do you have any other thoughts on the whole scenario or the whole situation? Or
I think if you look at it from the perspective of somebody who's been in gymnastics for so long, so somebody like me, or even just other coaches or other like really diehard fans who follow every single elite gymnastics meet and not just the Olympics, and you follow the stories of the abuse and you follow the different things that have come out in the last 4 years, then you would be able to see how positive what she did is, like what a positive sign of some progress it is. And there's still so much work to be done in the sport, and every other sport, we still get reports of abusive situations and just athletes not being treated well. And I think her being able to stand up there when she is in such a spotlight and do what she did was really just speaking up for everybody, regardless of whether they are in a sport or not. Because I think even in just high pressure work situations, being able to step back when you need to and being able to say that you need that is a really big deal. And I think she gave us that.
Absolutely.
Yep. Cool.
Well said.
Well said. All right. Well, let's move on to our powerlifting situation. Lara, you want to read that one?
Sure.
And we'll let Christina answer it this week. How about that?
All right. So here's the situation. You have one pair of large SPD knee sleeves that you use for training and competition. It takes you at least 20 minutes to put them on for each training session. Boy, you're getting a larger size, so they're easier to get on. Or I'm sorry, you're considering getting a larger size, so they're easier to get on. Do you really do that?
I think this one depends on why you're having such a hard time getting them on. Like I know in summer, it's almost impossible for me to get my knee sleeves on without a struggle because it's humid and I'm sticky before I start. But like in winter or at a meet when I'm not already hot and sweaty by the time I'm trying to get them on, I don't have any issue at all. So I don't need a different size. I just need a method of getting them on in training that doesn't wear me out. And I have that issue in summer. I work out in a gym that does not have AC and it is like 100 degrees and 80% humidity in Alabama. So I take a pair of lifting straps and stick one in each side of the knee sleeve while it's folded over and slide it up my legs and take it off. And obviously in a meet, you can't have assistance getting your knee sleeves on. So if you truly cannot get them on when you're not warm, then that's a different situation. But if it's just for training that you're struggling, I think doing something like that is no big deal. And if you really can't get them on with no assistance, then maybe you really do need to go up a size. But then you lose some of the benefit of your knee sleeves being bouncy. So I think you got to look at that and figure out which issue you're really running into and make a decision from there.
Yeah. Josh, what would you do?
Suck it up and put knee wraps on.
Yeah, I gotta say, I've never put on a pair of SPD knee sleeves other than just to train in. And I was just like, yeah, these are hard to get on, but I don't really feel much because wraps.
Yep. I'll be that guy. Just quit screwing with the knee sleeves, put knee wraps on and go equipped.
Well, I have the raw only perspective here. So
yeah. No, I don't know. And the other, I guess the real answer, I guess, I would get a size up to train in because do you really need that extra bounce in training? Probably not.
Probably not.
And then if you're wearing the same pair, you're going to have them stretched out and worn out by the time you get to the meet anyway. So I would, if you're going to do have a pair that tight, keep those for the meet and get a bigger pair to train in.
I actually have two pairs. They're both the exact same size. They're both extra smalls, which is the right size for me. But I have my original pair of SPD knee sleeves that I bought 6 years ago, maybe 5, that are still in great condition. And those are the ones I train in. And I have another pair that are probably 3 years old, but I only wear them for the heaviest squat sessions starting a few weeks out from a meet and in competition. And so they are basically brand new. And they are a little harder to get on, but that way I still have a nice, fresh, bouncy pair for meets.
Yeah.
I like it. That's probably the best answer right there.
Yeah.
So,
Fine.
Fine. Raw people, whatever. All right, let's do our new lifter tip. This one is all about belts. So belts must meet the specs that are in the rule book. For example, belts with Velcro and or padding in the back are not allowed in competition. In addition, belt emblems can only be, so if you're going to decorate your belt, the only things that could be on it are the lifter's nation, the lifter's name, as per the rule sponsors logos. And in national and lower level contests only, the lifters club or the individual sponsor, where the logo or the emblem is not maybe otherwise been approved by the IPF. That's a lot.
Yeah, basically, long story short, like just make sure it meets the specs in the rule book and don't put all kinds of, badass lifter or something on it like that, or, F the world or whatever. I've seen all kinds of crazy stuff. Probably, and Christina, you're a meet director. So what are some of the things that you see with new lifters, I guess?
I would say for new lifters, I am more likely to see the padded belt or the Velcro belt come out and then be completely shocked by it. Or I've seen people like take the padding out of a padded belt, which I just think is strange. But I've seen people do things like that. And I have occasionally seen a belt with something on it that they can't use in competition. And usually it was probably something they thought was cutesy, but it was profane in some way, or a weird logo. And most of the time it actually hasn't been an issue, but at nationals it would be. But at local level meets, we haven't had too many things that we couldn't allow.
Yeah, I just think, we kind of throw these out there just because a lot of people just don't know. So, like the belt thing, like you don't know, you can't wear a regular padded belt that most of the gyms have, you see in most of the commercial gyms. So, just kind of putting little things out there to hopefully prevent people from showing up with the wrong equipment.
So can I still bedazzle my belt?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of people come with a shared belt, which like works in theory until you're not in the same flight and one of you needs it for warmups and one of you needs it on the platform. So technically you can do that, but it's not really a smart strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, especially like high school teams, I've seen like a team of 20 come with like 5 belts and they just share. And somehow they make it work, but it's, and especially in a multiple platform meet, what if both lifters or 2 lifters happen to be going at the exact same time on 2 different platforms? What are you going to do? I don't know if that situation's ever come up like exactly like that, but yeah, I mean, at some point there's got to be a bottleneck where 2 people need the belt at the same time. So crazy, but
High school.
Cool. Well, I think that does it. Christina, I guess, thanks for coming, but where can people, I guess, find more about you? And I mean, actually, do you want to talk a little bit about your coaching, what you do kind of stuff or not? You don't have to.
I can.
Sure.
I coach mostly online these days, and I coach almost exclusively drug-free lifters. So I actually have 2 assistant coaches, and one of my assistant coaches specializes in working with beginners, and my other assistant coach is a male because some people want a male coach. And then there's me. So I mostly work with the more advanced people who are going to compete at a higher level. Not that I won't take beginners, I do. But I tend to use my assistant coaches for those situations. And they are really awesome, both of them, Jerry and Kate, and they are both really great at handling in person. So on top of being able to actually coach you and do the online check-ins and the video reviews and all that kind of stuff, all 3 of us are available to handle at meets as well, especially if you are in Alabama or near Alabama. It's much easier for us to get to you.
Cool. And where can people find you?
Probably the easiest way is on Instagram at Lift Heavy Princess. There's an underscore in between lift and heavy and princess. And then also my website is liftheavyprincess.com.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, we'll definitely Yeah, we'll put those links in the description of the episode as well too. But appreciate you being on. Thanks for the insight. Thanks for teaching a once every 4-year gymnastics fan. Basically, when the Olympics roll around, that's the only time I follow it. Just like I think 90% of the people that are complaining and are up in arms about it, I think they don't really follow the sport, and that's a shame. So. Anyway, on that note, we'll quit the rant on there, but thanks for joining us. We will catch you guys all next week. Later.
Bye now.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends.